welcome to another Jenna Rae Cakes tutorial. Today we are going to do a sugar peony. So this flower is probably one of the most requested flowers that I do, just on cakes ordered and also tutorials. So hopefully you guys learn a lot, and I say it's an easy peony because in terms of sugar flowers and the size it is and and how versatile it is, it's pretty simple. It takes a long time, it takes some skill, but it is pretty simple in terms of sugar flowers. So hopefully everyone is able to do it and create along with me. So for this tutorial, you're going to need your styrofoam board. You'll need styrofoam balls that are about this size. I'll link some, as always, in the comment section. And 20 gauge wire. We'll need our sugar, or our egg whites as always. Shortening as always, big rolling pin. You'll need a cell pin and a Dresden tool. And this cell pin, you don't need it for this one, but it's helpful. So you don't need to get it, but it's good to have. And then this is a sugar flower peony set. I think it came with 4 pieces, but I used 3. So I used a small, medium, and a large cutter. And then obviously your gum paste, Maggie Austin gum paste, the best gum paste ever. It's in her book, Maggie Austin Cake, highly recommend, like I said before. You'll need a Ziploc bag to hold your petals, a pasta rolling machine if you want. You can always roll it by hand, but like I always say before, this is better. Highly recommend if you want to make more sugar flowers. You can also use it to make pasta. We'll need a glue gun, really gross glue gun, and cornstarch. And then I'm going to do a pink peony, like this color here. And to do that, I use pink and ivory. Oh no, it broke. It's okay, I'll fix it. Pink and ivory gel color. And this one is soft pink and ivory. So if that didn't teach you, these are very fragile. Gotta make sure they're really pushed into your board, but we can work with that. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna get started on our peony. I forgot to mention you'll need a foam board. That's a really important part for the thinning step, so I didn't include it in the intro, so I just wanted to make a note of that now. Okay, so first step is we're going to do our gum paste. So for the amount of gum paste your peony needs, it needs quite a bit. It is a large flower. So you want to color more than you think you'll need because it's really hard to match colors after the fact if you need more. And then you can always make blossoms out of the extra or something like that. So this should be enough. Should be good. Maybe a little more, just to be safe. There we go. Okay. Always err on the side of caution because you can use more pink gum paste. It's easier than having to recolor it. Okay, so we have our shortening here. Conditioning it. So with the pink, I'm going to do a drop. That's a little too much. So you want to start out with like less is more kind of attitude. So it's like half a drop. Paper towel is always great to have on hand. And then ivory, a drop of that. And then you mix it in. So you can always do more color. You can't really, well, you could add more white to your gum paste to lighten it up, but it takes a lot and then you'll just have a ton of one color of gum paste. So it's easier to just go slowly with the colors. And then you can also use petal dust to help intensify your colors after, so it's not huge. So as soon as you start it feeling getting sticky and it's sticking to your hands, that's when you add more shortening as you're kneading it. So if you're making a burgundy peony or like a really deep red peony or red roses or something like that, black even, you want to add the color in when you're making your gum paste. Kneading it in like this would take a ton of color and a ton of shortening, and then the consistency of your gum paste is going to be off and it's going to be really hard to work with. So keep that in mind. Okay, that looks good to me. There's little streaks of ivory in there, but I kind of like that look, especially when you roll it out, it'll kind of be cool. So that's fine with me. Okay, that's good. All right, so now we are going to do our center. So our center for our peony, you could make it out of gum paste, but can you imagine how heavy this ball would be in gum paste? So styrofoam is the best because your peony already has so much weight on it with the petals that you don't want to add more by doing a core made of gum paste. So these styrofoam balls I found at our local craft store, Michael's. You can order them online as well. I believe they're 1.5 inches, but I'll double check on that. But yeah, they're great. Buy them by like the 20s, I think. And then your wire should be an 18 gauge wire. It's really, really thick, really strong, because this is going to hold a lot of weight, and you hang it upside down, like you can see on the flower that I broke, and I just added a couple more petals too. So here's your wire. So I cut these in half, and then you take your wire cutters and then just make a little hook like that. I don't know if you can see that. Make a little hook, and then you feed it through your styrofoam ball. Push. This part can get a little tough. And just like stab it through. There we go. So it's kind of in there like that. It's a little twisty because I had to push, but that's okay. And then you add your glue. So I just add some glue to the top here, just to give it extra stability. Pull it through. And then I let it dry a little bit, and I use my finger and just kind of push that down. Just like that. So you can see here, same deal. So that is good, the center's done, and that way it's quick and easy. You don't have to do it the day before like a ranunculus bud or anything like that. You can just get right into making your petals. So I move my glue gun out of the way. So like I said, the cutters that we use are Peony cutters that I found online. I think this set came with 4, maybe there was one that was even smaller. I think that's what it was. But we have our small, medium, and large. So we do 5 smalls, or no, yeah, 5 smalls, 5 mediums times 3, and then 5 large times 1, and then 6 large. I'll write this all out, you don't have to make notes or anything. I just wanted to give you a heads up of how many petals we need. So, I will start by putting out our gum paste and cutting some petals. So depending on how comfortable you are with this process, you can roll out a lot at a time and then keep them in your Ziploc bag, as long as you're making it from start to finish. If you're gonna stop and like make a coffee or like take a phone call or something, you don't want to do that because it will dry out really quickly. I'm really liking this color we made. It's very almost like peachy. I like it. Obviously, if I'm making a wedding cake and they have a specific color, I will match it to the T, but it's kind of fun when you make your own. You can just kind of go with whatever you're feeling. So on this roller, I'm going to roll it up to 6. Okay, so we have our gum paste down. So then I'll start with my smaller cutter, and I'll cut 5. So I keep it in little bundles for each layer of petals. So that's my little bundle of 5 small ones, and then moving on to the medium. So I'm going to hold off on making the larger petals because I ran out of gum paste anyways, and I want to make sure that they don't dry out. So I'll do the small and the medium first. So we have 3 bundles of medium and 1 bundle of small. So make sure you put that gum paste back into our bag. So the petals will have their own separate little Ziploc bag. So I'll just throw the bundles in there. Keep them from drying out. Okay, so I'll leave the little guys out because that's what we're doing first. So you'll need your styrofoam or your foam board and your Dresden tool. So we're using the thick end on our Dresden tool for this. You can use this if you have it and if you want to, but I feel like this gives it a bit more of a roughly thin, frilly look, which I like. So yeah, I guess we'll zoom in so you can really see the details here. Alright, so we're going to start with our small petals. So you take the petal and you put it on your foam board, and you're holding your Dresden tool at a 45-degree angle. You don't want to go straight up and down, or this point is going to put holes in your petal. You want to make sure it's held flat to the board like this, and you're just pushing with a lot of pressure, but as long as you're holding it like this, you're not going to tear your gum paste. So you start, and you're just focusing on the top parts for these petals because it's the only part that's seen. Just like that. And then you flip it over. So same thing. So you're going with a lot of pressure, and you're making sure you're going right over the edge of the gum paste, right onto the foam, so you don't get a buildup of the gum paste, and you want your edges to be as thin as possible to be the most realistic. Alright, so I have all 5 petals done. So then you take your egg whites and brush it up about 3/4 of the way up your petal. Okay. Then you take your styrofoam ball, and then you place the petal, and make sure you go over that spot where you can see the wire, and you're just overlapping them. And then you're just filling in the gaps here. So your goal here is to get this area nice and covered and fluffy. You don't have to worry about the rest of the ball showing through. There you go. Then you just make it nice and tight. And you're making sure that you can't see your styrofoam ball in the middle. And there you go. So that's the center of our peony. And then we'll go into our medium-sized petals. Now we do the same thing with our medium-sized petals. So you take it, and this time you're starting a little bit more down because more of it's going to show as opposed to your small petals. So about halfway down, you start frilling. And you're always going to start from the middle, and then you go out towards as you turn around the petal. So you can either turn the petal on your board, or you can move. So turning your petal is easier. And then you're still flipping this over. Okay, so these ones are still flipped over, and this is the last ones that will be. And then you paint them 3/4 of the way up again. Okay, and then now to attach the second layer, you flip your flower over, and then it usually just goes around the base of your stem there. And then you want to make sure this petal isn't going over top of your small petals. You want it to be kind of like the even same height. And then you just go and overlap them just slightly around your cone, or ball I should say. And then for this last petal, just lift it up and put it over, so it's a nice spiral effect. And then you want to really make sure that your petals are adhered nicely to your ball. And then you want to make sure that it's nice and brought up like this, so nice and frilly in your opening. This petal here is a little high for my liking, so I'm just going to kind of pull it down. Okay, so you can't really stick this up in your foam board anymore because it's going to just fall over. So now I just bend it and stick it out the side like that, so it dries a little bit like that. And then now on to our next layer. Same thing as before, but this time we are thinning our petal the same way. Nice and even pressure. Don't be afraid to go too hard. You should be working up a sweat. And then you take the side of the Dresden tool and you just take it and you pull it back. So this is going to kind of create a cupping motion, because some peonies, they kind of like bunch over the outer petals. So that's what I'm kind of going for here. And then you're keeping these right side up, and you're not flipping these ones over. Whereas the first 2 layers, we flipped them over. But these, the rest of the petals, we're going to do it this way. Okay, so these are all thinned out and cupped. And then you're gonna put your egg whites about halfway up this time. Okay, upside down. And you're just putting these in between, over top of the seams of the petals below it. A little bit of an overlap. Okay, and then tuck this petal, the last petal underneath the first petal, that spiral, and then you really want to make sure you're really pressing this down and getting a good connection. So the last thing you want to do is your flower to just fall off, all your petals to fall off and all your hard work be ruined. Okay, so that's good. So now, because our flower is getting bigger, we're going to hook it and hang it upside down. So just find a place in your home that works for this for you. It can be, I use my cupboards, it can be a pasta drying rack or anything that works that no one's going to touch it. Okay, and for the last layer, same thing as before. So this is the last medium petal set. Okay, so we have our upside down petals. This is the last layer of the mediums. And you're just placing it over top of the seams again. And these ones you're gonna have to put down a little bit lower to make sure they're in line with the rest of the petals. So you're putting a lot of gum paste onto this ball, so that's why you wanna make sure you're using a strong wire and also glued your styrofoam ball in. So you could let this dry for a little bit if you're worried about it, but I always just do it in one straight shot and it's always worked out for me. So hopefully that continues. Okay, so now we're gonna hang this upside down back on my cupboard, and I'll flip you right side up to show you the rest of the large petals. Okay, we're back to right side up, so you can see my flowers drying in the background here. So you wanna have it hooked up somewhere where it hangs freely and there's room for the petals to gradually come out further. So now we're gonna we have our last two layers here. So these are our large petals. So same thing, you're just thinning it out like we have been this whole time. So you really should be working up a sweat here. You're using a lot of pressure, and that Band-Aid is a really good idea because you probably will definitely get a blister if you're doing it right. Okay, same thing, you're cupping the petals and just laying them down. Okay, so with these ones you're gonna put it over a seam, but there are 6 of them instead of 5, so it's not gonna be even. So just space them out accordingly around your flower. Make sure it's nice and connected. Okay, so here, I'm going to put it back up here for now. So you're going to take a paper towel here and rip them in little chunks like this, usually is what I do, and I fold it in half. And then I'm going to add them to the petals as they dry to give them some lift and spacing in between. So I just lift up a flap of a petal, so where the spiral comes from, the part that's overlaying another petal, I just stick the paper towel under it just to give it a bit of help to stay up. Just like that. So you go all the way around to all of the petals. You don't need to be too precise with this because you don't really want a full symmetrical flower, but it's just nice to give a little bit of help to these guys. kind of check it underneath to see how it's looking. It looks good. So I'm going to go in and make the last round. So just as the same as before. Just thin them out and cook them. Okay, so for our last layer, this is getting heavy. Now you can just put it over the seams. And these ones you really want to make sure that they're going in all different directions. So when you're putting your paper towel in there, you can really just play around with it and make it look however you want to. So I have an extra leaf here that doesn't really quite fit, so I'm just going to throw it wherever. Give a bit of dimension. Okay, looking good. So make sure it's all nice and secure because this is a lot of gum paste now. You really want to make sure that it's stuck on there. And you want to give this guy at least a full day. I'd give it 2 days to dry. Okay, hanging it up. And then take your paper towels. Okay, so it is all dry. Not all dry, sorry. It's all ready to dry. It's done, all the petals are done, so now we'll leave it for about 2 days to fully dry. By tomorrow I can flip it back over and put it in my styrofoam board to let it dry continually, but if you want to color it, then you definitely let it dry for at least a day, day and a half. 2 days would be nice. Yeah, so next we'll be coloring. Okay, so for the final step is coloring your peony. So I have some colors here. I have Impatient Pink, Peach, Stargazer, and Cinnamon from Crystal Colors. So I probably won't even use them all, I just like to have a little bit of a selection. So pretty much like a darker pink, a lighter pink, and then a peachy color, and then I have like a little kind of light brown. So you take your peony, so this one I made yesterday, so it's ready to go. It still could firm up a little bit more, but it'll be fine. The ones I just made are still drying over there. So I'll start with a lighter peach here. Maybe I'll do it in front so you guys can see it better. So just scoop out some peach, scoop out some pink, scoop out some of this dusty mauvey color, and then some browns. Okay. So start with the pinks here. So kind of mix them up, and then you're just kind of like tapping it in to the middle. So you just kind of want to intensify the color in the middle. And it's also nice to really touch up on those edges so you can really see them. You did so much work frilling out all of the edges. I'm sure you have blisters. So you want to make sure you're really showing those off, and you're gonna get breakage. It happens. They're very delicate flowers, so you want to be really careful. The brush that you're using for this should be really soft and fluffy. This one's pretty worn in. I use this one a lot, so just kind of tap the color in. And you're just lightly touching on the edges. So if there's a place that you really want to highlight, like here, there's a little hole there, so like a little bug got her. I'm just gonna like lightly touch it and draw the eye there. So these are the couple petals I added on earlier today because I had broke them in the intro, as you saw. So they're not fully dry yet, but I'll just be careful with them. So don't be scared if you like drop your flower. You can always, well, not always, but you can definitely fix it for the most part. Okay, so you really get in there. And you want to make sure you hit the back side of the petals as well. So anywhere you really want to define, use that darker purpley color. What is it called? Stargazer. And then it's really going to highlight some of your leaves. Or I keep saying leaves, sorry, petals. Petals. Okay. Make sure you get the back sides. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with the brown and the darker color and just hit some more edges in here and really make it pop in the middle. Because anything concentrated is going to be a bit darker, so you can really help that out. just really get it into that center. I usually can do this for a really long time, so I have to force myself to stop. I don't want to do too much, because the light just passing through the thinness of the petals is enough to like really create some nice colors, but sometimes you just want to help it out. Okay, I love this. Add a bit more brown around a little bug bite. A little bit more brown to the center. I think brown is a color you wouldn't really think to add to a flower or something pretty, but if you look out in nature, there's always like little brown pieces of your flowers, your plants, and whatever. It's just part of it. So I think it's a really nice touch. Okay, so here's my peony. I think it's beautiful. So the color really makes it pop and really adds that extra touch. So stick it back safely into your styrofoam board. Don't let it fall over like I did earlier. Perfect. Okay, so that is our easy sugar flower peonies. You can see it's not easy, but it's easier in terms of flowers. Definitely the most important thing is to make sure you get your thinning process down. If it's not hurting your finger, you're doing something wrong. So make sure to really get that 45-degree angle on your foam board with your Dresden tool and push really hard. It shouldn't break your gum paste if you're doing it right and have the right technique. So sometimes it just takes a little work of your wrist and finding out what works for you. And giving yourself a lot of drying time is important as well. You don't want to start a peony if you need it that same day, definitely. Like all sugar flowers, pretty much you need to give yourself 2 to 3 days to complete them from start to finish. So if you have a cake on the weekend, I usually start on all the sugar flowers on Monday or Tuesday, work on those, and then work on the cake last, and then put it all together. Alright, so any questions, of course, as always, please ask me in the comments below. I'll love to answer anything you have. I'll link everything I can find in the comments, and let me know what you want to see next. And if you make a peony with this tutorial, please show me. I'd love to see it. Yeah, that's it for today. So I hope you enjoyed, and stay safe out there. We'll see you next time.